PR is creating visibility around something, and that something could be a company, could be an individual, could be an event, in order to highlight it, create awareness, to help with business development. It could be to help with name ID, all for the purposes to increase credibility as well. So it's shining a light on whatever you're doing, creating that credibility factor, creating that awareness, getting people comfortable with what you're doing. And the credibility thing, I think, is probably key in PR, because when you promote your company in a certain way, you're really kind of putting that credibility factor out there, and people want to be associated with somebody who's credible. And in business, I think that's one of the most important things, is that's going to facilitate actual sale or something that you're doing being credible. Credibility really speaks to the whole sales cycle of a business, right? Or if you're an individual and you're trying to be a thought leader in a certain area, people aren't going to listen to you if they don't believe that you're credible. People aren't going to buy your product if they do not associate you with, being a credible company. So really, credibility facilitates a lot of the business development, sales side of, or aspects, I should say, of what a company does. And again, going back to the individual, if you're doing PR around one person, nobody's going to listen to you if they don't believe you're credible or you are legitimate enough to talk or speak on the subject in which you're talking about. I think a lot of people are wary about PR because it's hard to track. It's an organic thing that kind of happens from you promoting yourself, whereas with marketing, you invest a certain amount of money in an ad buy, and you can track that. You can see how many conversions are coming in off that. Whereas PR, it's really hard to track. A news story that you got, right? So say you were in one of your regional newspapers, it's really hard to see how many people that read that actually went to your website and converted on what you're selling. That's kind of the best way to explain it. And a lot of what you decide to talk about, whether, again, you're doing PR for an individual, a company, or event, you really have to break it down. And what I like to do when I meet with people is say, okay, give me 3 things that you feel differentiate you from your competitor, or 3 things that you consider unique to what you do. So it's a process, and you kind of have to drill down by doing those kind of exercises to figure out what you want to promote about your company. Most of the time, it doesn't happen, right off the bat. It takes a lot of work. It's not something that just happens overnight. I think PR is definitely different with a startup from, say, an enterprise or established company. When you're young, you really have to get the message out there, and you're still kind of struggling with who you are and telling your story. So you have to find those unique characteristics, those things that people are going to be interested in, things that could be considered newsworthy. So that's where it's really different with a startup. Whereas a company that's been around for a long time, they already kind of have their message down, and they stick with what they've been talking about for years. I say that's a great idea. I'm right there with you. I want to see you in Forbes and New York Times as well, but let's kind of crawl before we walk, so to speak. And I like to say that PR is kind of like a snowball, right? You start small, you end big. So unless you figured out a way to maybe cure cancer or some sort of just amazing feat that you've come up with right at the bat, you're probably not going to get in those publications immediately. It takes work to get there, to build up, to get to that point. So I say absolutely, we're going to get there, but it might take a little bit more legwork than you think, but you kind of have to start small and get that snowball effect. Once it rolls down the hill, it just keeps gathering steam, and before you know it, you're there at the Forbes, you're there at the New York Times. Specifically to bring it home right here for Raiken, just recently, a couple weeks ago, Raiken was highlighted on the front page of the business section for the San Diego Union Tribune. Great article talking about how they are revamping construction reporting. Their software is leaps and bounds, no more pen and paper, all that good stuff. That news story got picked up by other regional newspapers around the country and actually facilitated with a sales opportunity. So somebody, say in Minnesota, I think, read the article that was in the San Diego Union Tribune and said, shoot, I got to try this. I have a construction company and I'm on a bunch of job sites. So how about I give them a try? So it actually facilitated a sales opportunity, which is huge, which is what PR should be doing. Sure, I think PR should be fun. It should be something that gets you excited. And if you're not doing it, you're not really taking advantage of all the avenues that you have in business to, promote your company or make your company that much better, or take it, from here to here. So I think it's something that people really need to get into and actually be excited about.